Freezing panes. In an Excel 2016 worksheet, you have over 1,000,000 rows to work with and over 16,000 columns to work with. Now, if you start to add so much data that you can't see it all in one screen, there are some cool features to help you with getting things lined up. We can freeze rows and columns, also known as panes, and that's what we're going to do in this lecture. So what I have opened up is our chocolate candy sales worksheet. Um, and so I just want you to know that this can be an issue when you try to zoom in. So let's go down to our zoom slider here in our lower right hand corner and click the plus sign. And let's say I'm going to go up to maybe 140%. So yeah, it still looks good. So let's go to 150. And you'll notice now we have a scroll bar. Scroll bar here and a scroll bar there. That allows us to scroll left and right. When we go over to the right, we see that the first few columns over on the left-hand side of our sheet are no longer visible. And if we really don't know the data, then we can't line it up with anything unless we've memorized. Okay, so they are north, east, west, and south. Wouldn't it be better if we could always see that content? That means freezing column A. And when we scroll down, eventually, if we had a little bit more data on this sheet, we would be losing our months, our January, February, and so on. So we would have no idea of which months we're looking at. So let's begin talking about freezing panes. The first thing we'll do is I'll scroll everything back over. I'll go up to the View tab in our ribbon, and let's give that a click. You see it does have a Freeze Panes option. So I'm going to click the drop down, and within our drop down, we have a Freeze Panes, a Freeze Top Row, and a Freeze First Column. So, freezing the top row simply means that we'll always be able to see the top row as we scroll down. All that means is that we'll always be able to see our title. And see our title here? And that's not going to be very helpful. Freezing the first column, though, might be helpful. Let's give that a click. So we're going to freeze the first column. Notice the faint line that appears between columns A and B. And now, when you use our scroll bar to scroll over to the right, we'll always see the contents of column A. So I'll go ahead and scroll over. Notice we always see northern, eastern, southern, and western. So, when you go back all the way to the totals, we can see the totals line and then up to the actual locations. But as we scroll down, we'll see that eventually we lose the labels. We will lose the labels for the months. And then we won't exactly know which data we're looking at. So let's go way back over to the left and all the way up to the top of our sheet. And basically what we want to do now is I'm going to go to the View tab and also to the Freeze Panes, and I'm going to unfreeze panes. So I'd like to always have, as I'm going to add more data to the sheet, I'd like to always have the months in view and also the locations in view. So basically what I need to do here is that I need to click somewhere below 1 through 5 and somewhere over so that I can always have my locations and I'll always have my months. So what I'm going to do is go into column B6 and we'll be able to see everything to the left and everything above when we go back up to the freeze panes. And this time we're going to go back up to our freeze panes. We're going to click the drop down and we're going to click freeze panes. This function allows us to freeze both rows and columns at the same time. So you'll see the faint line here. So now, look what happens when we scroll down. You always see the labels for those months, January, February, March, and so on. And when we scroll over to the right, we frozen that first column, so you'll always see what data we're looking at. And thanks to freezing panes here in Excel, let's zoom back out to 100%.